police.
In the morning.
Welcome, B-Movie fans, to another B-Movie interview. I'm Paul.
And I'm Corey.
And joining us today is Dan Berger. Dan is here to talk about his new YouTube comedy series, Pool Party. Dan, welcome to our show.
It's good to be here.
So, what inspired you to start making YouTube videos?
I've actually been making YouTube videos for a while. I think it's a great platform, to get your comedy out there, and you can reach the whole world pretty much for free, which is pretty cool. When I actually started doing comedy videos when YouTube was first taking off, so it was cool. I was pretty amazed to have that platform. Mostly doing like kind of spoofs of things. I did a spoof of The Usual Suspects. I did a couple of election-related spoofs that were like the 2008 election. So I've been on YouTube for a while.
Very cool.
Why don't you tell us a bit about your series Pool Party? What's the general plot or the idea behind it?
Sure. So Pool Party is a series in which I play an Uber pool driver, and in each episode there's sort of a ridiculous combination of passengers. And I was inspired very much by my own experiences riding Uber pools, and it was I just thought it was a pretty ridiculous situation. You've got four strangers pretty much in the car together. There could be all sorts of conflicts. Someone needs to get somewhere on time, and the other person's kind of slow, and there's all sorts of, and just different personality types not getting along. I mean, I had a conflict with a lady actually in an Uber pool that really set this up. I was with my wife, and she was in the back seat with this sort of overweight lady and her kind of overweight daughter, and she kept saying that my wife was taking up too much of the seat in the back, but in fact her daughter was taking up too much of the seat, and we got into a whole argument. I ended up insisting to the driver that he give them 1 star. It just got me thinking about how many times stuff like this happens.
Seems like there's no shortage of crazy people that take Uber from everything I've seen and heard.
Yeah, no, I mean, people are surprisingly social in the Uber pools. People will really start up a conversation, and people are flirting, people are making business deals, like all sorts of stuff happens. It's kind of like being stuck in an elevator together or something.
No, I've never heard of an Uber pool. What exactly is an Uber pool?
So, and it's not only Uber pool. There's Lyft, Line also, but all of these are like ride-sharing services where normal ride sharing is just, or normal Uber or Lyft or whatever is you order a cab, the driver comes, you and whoever's in your party are the only passengers. But Uber pool is you order the cab, the driver comes, there may be 2 or 3 other random passengers in it with you, and because you have to ride with other passengers, which is kind of an annoyance, and you may even have to go out of your way, which is an extra annoyance. It's cheaper, so it's kind of like carpooling, but in a cab service, but with strangers, which is kind of insane.
Interesting. Seems like this the making of like a weird sitcom in a way.
Yeah.
Your series, you've got 1 episode out so far, right?
That's right, yeah.
Very cool. And it looks like it's met with a lot of success. You've got over 90,000 views, so congrats on that.
Reddit was very helpful for us. We put it on Reddit in the sort of comedy subreddit, and people really dug it, and it got to the front page, and I think that was a big part of the success.
What has the general response to your series been like? Have people sent their own Uber experiences to you guys, or?
Definitely, yeah. People in the comments. I mean, first of all, just mostly positive responses in the comments. Some people gave. Certainly, a lot of people I see in person have been giving their own crazy Uber stories. One thing I feel bad about, there's a line in there about it should be pronounced Boise, Idaho, but we said Boise, Idaho, which is how people usually pronounce it, but that's wrong, and so we got called out several times in the comments for that. But overall, definitely very positive, and people have been sharing their stories and saying they want to get involved. As some actors reached out and said they wanted to get involved, so that's pretty cool.
Now, will you be using some of these stories that people have sent you for later episodes?
Yeah, one I was in. I'm based in New York. Or my co-creator and I are based in New York. But I was in Los Angeles a couple months ago, and I talked to this guy. I was in an Uber pool, and I asked the cab driver, and he about anything crazy, and he was telling me about this guy who was vaping in the pool. I mean, in the Uber, and this woman, understandably didn't want the guy to be vaping in the pool. So the next episode actually is about vaping. And I was kind of inspired by an Uber pool driver himself.
Yeah, I know recently I've been seeing a lot of signs when I go out places that says no smoking or vaping.
Yeah, they're saying
because I used to get super pissed off. I'd be at the mall, or I've even seen people like at movie theaters vaping and shit. And it just it really bugs me. It's like it's not just the fact of like, smoke with, all the terrible health concerns. But, like, it's just that obstruction that's there in the mist or in the smoke that really gets to me.
Yeah. No. It's crazy because it's so new. It's like some people haven't figured out what to do with it, whether it should be banned or not. I think it should be banned. But so that's sort of because sometimes the rules aren't written out, even though we all sort of think, like, probably shouldn't be vaping in here. The vapor can kind of say that there's no rule against it, and that's their defense. So that's sort of what the next one's about. Some other ideas. That's the one we've sort of written out, but definitely have some other ideas coming up.
It's like a never-ending supplies of stories.
Yeah, and it's a good format. You can take a lot of different ideas you have and put it in that format. So yeah, I think it's a good engine, as they say in the business.
So is comedy your favorite genre to work in, or is it just like the one you're currently taking on?
Yeah, definitely comedy is my favorite. I think I sort of see the world through a comedic lens. Definitely, I'm very interested in conflict comedy, kind of and awkwardness, and sort of like Curb Your Enthusiasm or Seinfeld. I definitely find and this British show Peep Show, which I love and is kind of in that vein. That's kind of what I find interesting.
Now, comedy is one of the most difficult genres to work with, just due to the fact that everybody has their different opinion on what is funny. What kind of process do you go through with writing comedy to make sure to hit the widest available audience?
Yeah, I mean, it's really several. As with anything, there's it's sort of a 3-step process, and it changes all that. So there's the writing step, which definitely will sort of my co-creator and I will write a draft, and then I'll write the draft, and then we'll both really look at it pretty closely and try to refine it and really make sure it's hitting those comedic beats. I mean, you're telling a story. It's not just comedy, it's like you're also telling a story, and you want the story to be funny as well as the dialogue. So that's definitely something, even though it's so short, it has a 3-act structure, it tells this story. And so definitely we're looking for both the story to be funny, and have these plot moments that are funny, and then also for the dialogue to be funny. So we definitely, it took maybe 5 sessions or so to refine this script. And then you're on set is the second phase, and you're, letting the actors improv and seeing if they could maybe improve some lines that maybe aren't totally working. And then maybe you think of something and try something else. Then you're in the editing, post-production process, and there you're still refining a lot. And some of my favorite moments from that first episode actually came about in the editing process. There's this look when we're all chanting Philip, and the Ashley, the red-haired actress, sort of looks at Philip and is like, "Come on, are you going to say yes?" And it definitely wasn't in the script, but we kind of found that, and we're like, that's the perfect look to have at that moment. And there were a bunch of other moments like that just sort of came around. There was when the girls call him a creep, that it just so happened that after kind of encouraging him to say that he was into Ashley, it just so happens that the car stops just then, and it makes it an even bigger moment than it read on the page. And that was one of these sort of just fortuitous moments that came about in production and post-production. So it definitely evolves, especially comedy, you know, like Apatow and all these guys do improv on set because, you know, if you're working with talented actors, you may come up with something even funnier than that was on the page.
That's pretty awesome. You just kind of see what happens and just work with what's funny and what isn't.
And some of the most famous lines in movies were improvised lines. You got The Shining when he breaks through the door. Here's Johnny. That was improvised.
Wow. I didn't know that.
In the movie They Live, whenever Roddy Piper went into the bank and he goes, "I'm here to kick ass and chew bubble gum," that was just something that, and I'm all out of bubble gum. That was just something that he came up with. It wasn't like in the script. It was just something that he threw in there. And that became like the most memorable line of the movie.
Yeah, I love that movie. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I think it's like Curb Your Enthusiasm, which I mentioned earlier, that he's Larry David sort of sets up a very funny situation and then hires funny actors who can think on their feet, and something good can really come of that. So I think that's sort of our philosophy as well. And we script it out very, so it was very similar to the final version was very similar to the script, but there are some variations and there's some visual things that we hadn't thought about, and there were some improv lines. So I think you definitely want to have the plot laid out and have it be funny characters, funny concept of what they're doing, where they're headed, but leave some room for improv.
It's kind of like a structured sort of chaos.
Yeah, exactly.
We know a little bit about YouTube having certain algorithms. People have been talking about this online a lot, but I guess certain things like influence the amount of views you can get. Do you know anything about that, or has that helped you or harmed your video at all? Or?
Yeah, I mean, certainly there are a lot of other videos called Pool Party already on YouTube. I'll tell you that. That's something I learned. Yeah, I think maybe on the next one I'll try to do better SEO on I think a lot of our views came from Reddit. We're still getting some from YouTube. Yeah, I've in jobs I've had in the past, I've definitely sort of gamed that SEO thing where people are searching for something and you name your video that, and that helps. This one didn't totally have it. There's not a clear thing that people are searching for that I can add to the title, although comedy. I mean, it's something I'm working on. It definitely is there. That is if you do that well, you can definitely add to your number of views if you game the YouTube SEO thing. It wasn't a huge factor for this one, but maybe in the future I'll change the title a bit for that.
What qualities do you think makes a great series or film? And could you give us a few examples of those?
Comedy or anything, or
just anything. What makes a great film?
Like something like engaging and that people will keep coming back to.
Yeah, one of my favorite films is Fargo. In general, I love the Coen Brothers, and I mean, I think having a unique, especially in comedy, having just a unique comic voice and sort of outlook on the world and is important, and that Fargo certainly does have this sort of dark, bleak view of the world, but still with some light. The Marge Gunderson is kind of a ray of sunshine in this bleak story. But yeah, I think Coen Brothers are a good example of this, of just quality on every level, also of just great writing meets great acting, meets great directing, meets great cinematography. Another thing also I think in comedy that I respect about them is the jokes are not totally explained to you. It's kind of just this character is speaking how they would speak and this character is speaking how they would speak, and it's very funny, but it's not sort of sitcom-y, heavy-handed jokes. It's just sort of an absurd situation presented in a pretty straightforward way. So that I think is interesting. Yeah, I think also just willing to be or what's a good series, or this, The Simpsons in its day, and who else do I like? I like Ali G and Borat. They are willing to break some cultural taboos, but in a smart way. I think there's some sort of shock comedy that I think sometimes is just shock for shock value, but I think it's interesting to me when people break taboos, but in a very smart, clever way. And sometimes, people, you also just break taboos in a subtle way. You maybe just the sort of outlook on humanity you present is like kind of bleak, but in a subtle way, and that's interesting because you certainly wouldn't see that on a network sitcom or something like that. Like most network sitcoms are pretty soft gloves on people, So I think that's interesting.
Definitely. It seems like, at least to me, people are either funny or they're not. Like, you can always kind of tell when somebody is really trying to be funny and when they kind of genuinely know that they have a funny idea and they just kind of present it, whereas somebody trying to manufacture funny, it just comes off as artificial. I think that most people can kind of tell when it's genuine and when it's not.
Yeah, I think that's another thing about comedy is like things that try too hard, things that are you've seen before, just neither of those things I think are that funny. And it's sort of, you talked about YouTube earlier, like there is sort of something like that happening to me in 2006 or something. Like I would see a YouTube parody and just be, cackling at how funny this was. And now I think that genre is like a little played out. You've seen so many parodies on YouTube and stuff, so it's like it takes a lot now to make me laugh at that kind of stuff. Part of comedy also I think is surprise. So giving people something that they don't expect that's new is super important.
Definitely. You mentioned Seinfeld earlier. It kind of reminds me of that, where I always felt like they knew what was written and what they were acting was funny. Like it was just them kind of showing it to them, but it wasn't like, oh, I wonder if this is funny. I wonder if people think it's funny. It's like, no, it's funny. I mean, some people will laugh, some people won't get it, but I never got the impression that they were ever like, oh, actually, I really hope that people will like this. It's like, no, I think when something's genuinely funny, you kind of know.
Yeah, I actually just read this book about must-see TV in the 90s. It's called Top of the Rock, and they talked about, the network, NBC was giving notes to Larry and Jerry and kind of saying, oh, well, could you make these characters nicer? Maybe in the end George apologizes or whatever. And and Larry and Jerry were just like, no, this is our vision and this is what we're going to do. And I think that is important for comedy, is like having a clear voice and not shying away from it.
Now, we have a very important question that we like to ask everybody that we talk to. Paul and I discuss it here quite often for some reason. That is, what is your opinion on hairless cats?
They're weird looking, but
Thank you. That's what I've been telling him. He has
they're so adorable.
No, they are.
There are some people out there that just they look at an old person, they're like, oh, look at that old person. They're so cute. I just want to take them home and take care of them. They got all those wrinkles.
But no one wants to cuddle with
that's
an old
what
person.
To me, like I don't think old people are cute, but I think hairless cats are just the cutest, most adorable little things with all their little folds and their grumpy faces, and
they look like demonic abortions. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Oh, they make me think of Anubis.
Or like those naked mole rats kind of thing.
Pretty much.
Another adorable animal.
Cats should have hair. Hairless cats, it's an abomination against nature. We've experimented too far.
If people don't have to have hair, I don't think cats need hair either.
Well, people should have hair. It's wrong when they don't.
Now I gotta Google image search some hairless cats.
Just make sure you have your safe search on, or else you're gonna get some other stuff going there.
That's true.
So where can we follow you to learn more about Pool Party and any other projects you may be working on in the future?
Yeah. I created a new YouTube channel for this. You can go on YouTube and subscribe. That would be great. So you can also go to the website. So you should subscribe. I mean, if you go to the first episode, you'll see our account and you can subscribe. So that I think would be the most useful thing for everyone. And then we also have a website, www.poolparty.com with 3 Ys. That's always going to have the latest episodes and also has some information about us. And we may add some more behind the scenes stuff next time. We have accounts on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook as well. Facebook's a good one also because you can watch the videos themselves on Facebook. We upload the full episodes on Facebook, so you can check it out there too. But definitely subscribing on YouTube is probably the best.
Do you know when the next episode will be out, or are you guys still working on it?
Actually, just when I get off the phone here, I'm going to be working on that vaping script, and we should film it this month, and it should be out like end of the month or early February.
Very cool. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So there you have it, folks. Pool Party, a series that chronicles the insane experiences of being a passenger on the public transportation system. Dan, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you again, Dan.
If you have an independent film you're working on and would like to discuss it, you can email us at bmoviebros@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at bmoviebros or my personal Twitter at bmoviepaul. Don't forget to listen to our podcast. We review a different B-movie each week. New episodes every Friday on our website, bmoviebros.com. If you have a movie you'd like us to review or any additional comments, feel free to leave a message below. This has been another B-Movie interview. We are the B-Movie Bros saying, be brave, be alive, and be back next time.